You don't give a damn. You don't even know about the Palestinian families. You don't even know that they exist. Tell me the name of one member of the 7 members of the same family slaughtered on the beach in Gaza by an Israeli warship. You don't even know their name, but you know the name of every Israeli soldier who's been taken prisoner in this conflict, because you believe, whether you know it or not, that Israeli blood is more valuable than the blood of Lebanese or Palestinians. That's the truth, and the discerning of your viewers already know.
She talked about supporting the government and people of the Lebanon. Well, let's split that proposition. She wasn't much help to the government of the Lebanon when its Prime Minister was weeping on television, begging for a ceasefire, when the British and American governments alone in the world were refusing and indeed blocking any attempts to demand an immediate ceasefire of the Israeli bombardment. Worse, she wasn't much help to the government or the people of the Lebanon when British airports were being used for the transshipment of American weapons to Israel that were raining down death and destruction on the very people of Lebanon. She now says she stands.
You're liars, and everybody knows that you are.
Mr. Gallo,
you're a bunch of liars. I am not an admirer of Saddam Hussein. I was an opponent of Saddam Hussein when you'd never met
Sorry,
him.
Mr. Gallo.
Everybody watching this program, although thankfully there are not that many, every person watching this program now knows that this is a setup. It's a waste of your viewers' time, it's a waste of your professional time, and it's a waste of my time.
Today is October the 8th. 40 years ago, this day, Comandante Che Guevara was murdered by American imperialism in Bolivia. And we remember him here today. Che Guevara, Presidente. Guevara said, the revolutionary must be capable of trembling with indignation at any injustice committed against any person, anywhere. That's why we're here. Mr. Brown may think Basra is a photo opportunity. We know it's a graveyard of 1 million Iraqis and millions more whose lives have been ruined.
Brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, wassalamu alaikum, peace be on all of you. Andrew Murray has just received a text that Israel has dropped millions of leaflets on the people of Gaza, warning of an escalation of the military action in the next 24 hours. This great demonstration today tells Gordon Brown, David Miliband, and the other rancid traitors to the interests of the British people down in Westminster that the anti-war movement hasn't gone away, you know. And the resistance of the Palestinian people hasn't gone away either. Victory to the Palestinian resistance! Victory to the Palestinian resistance!
Guerrilla organizations who are armed with Kalashnikovs, so it doesn't take much to arm them. Israel, on the other hand, is armed with 200 nuclear weapons, and the United States is physically occupying Iraq and sailing its warships off the coast of Iran.
So just to clarify, you're not disagreeing with that statement. You think Iran probably is behind the army of these organisations?
Well, these people have 40-year-old Kalashnikovs. I know that because I've seen them. I've stood beside them. And your reporters have too. This is a canard. These liars that you're interviewing over the transatlantic cable are the people responsible for telling us the lies about Iraq, which have killed 1 million people. Why do you treat them so seriously and with such
such veneration. They're proven
Preposterous. America has given Israel missiles that can target not just every city in Lebanon, but every city in the Arab and Muslim world, including Iran. Why should America be allowed to give long-range missiles to Israel, including hundreds of nuclear missiles, but Iran
because
is
it's
not
given
allowed
it to a
give
terrorist
missiles?
organisation.
But they're not a terrorist organisation, only in the mind of Rupert Murdoch's Sky.
Well, if people believed the package they've just heard, which could have come from Fox News, you would think that Fidel Castro was some kind of tyrant. Well, I can assure you that's what your viewers will be concluding. That was the most biased package I've heard today, and I've been on the media all day.
Let's not go over the package. Let's not go over the package. I'm asking you a simple question.
The question is this: are the Cuban people liberated from the misery that afflicts most of the people of the third world? And the answer is yes.
Lavished blandishments on Saddam Hussein's regime. In fact, I was one of the very few opponents of the Saddam Hussein regime when British ministers and businessmen, and ministers were going in and out of the Iraqi embassy doing business with them. So I'm sorry, I just won't have that.
You don't need to spend very long on Google.
The more important point is whether or not Iraqis were better off before the war than they are now. Only a madman would say that they're better off now. For a start, 655,000 of them are no longer here. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them are in prison camps, God knows where. Bodies are turning up, 150 a day in the mortuary with their tongues cut out and drill marks through their head. Nobody can walk safely on any street in Iraq. Millions have fled the country. The Americans have looted billions of dollars worth of Iraq's wealth. The idea that Iraq is better off today than it was before the war is simply absurd.
But I want to say to those who were boasting today, I'm amazed at how many members of parliament have been in Sderot. Did any of them, when they were there, see the ruins of the Palestinian villages on which Sderot is built? The ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people from Sderot in the south of Israel? Did any of them know that the refugee camps of Gaza are filled with the people who used to live in the villages on which Sderot is now built? This didn't start on the 27th of December. It didn't even start with respect to the honourable lady from Milton Keynes, who made a great speech in 1967 when Sderot and other places were cleared. This started in this building when Arthur Balfour, on behalf of one people, promised a second people the land which belonged to a third people. We are the authors of this tragedy. Everything that has flown as a result of that declaration. And for that reason, if no other, the British Foreign Office needs to get its finger out and stand up and be counted alongside the British people demonstrating on the streets of London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Edinburgh, Glasgow and elsewhere. Let's see some urgency from the Minister. Action speaks louder than words, and from this government so far we've had no action at all.